Hey team, it is day 38 and I am cold. That's why I got my coat on. Gotten snow, wet snow, heavy snow the last couple days here. It's not normal. I've been, clearing cars off and getting wet and cold. And I just think that's why I'm cold. So I'm like, I'm gonna do my coat. I'm just gonna leave it on to stay warm. And you know what? My give you know what meter is at an all-time low, because if you don't like it, well, that's why you have the chance to turn off the video if you want. But most likely you're here to, see what kind of crazy content has come up in my mind for what you might be interested to as it relates to health and wellness and weight loss and mindset. So we're going to get into that. And the one I want to talk about today is, do you burn more calories standing than sitting? That's one that just came to my mind, but has been asked a couple of times. And I'm really curious because over the last, couple of years when there was a ton of work from home, a lot of people always worried about the ergonomics and making sure that their equipment that they were working at home from was like ergonomic, so you didn't have the back pain and stuff. But let's talk about sitting compared to standing when you're working all day. What's the difference? Which one's better? We'll go from there. But let's get into the 6 goals. Day 38, I did see 219 again today. 219.4 this time, but I'm still rounding up to 220. Man, I'm just creeping down on this thing. But it's, like I said, I'm trying not to, dole out a ton of activity. I'm going to just continue to see this thing and be patient as it goes down. I mean, the downward trend is still there, so we're going to go. So 220. 1,950 calories. I got 7¼ hours of sleep. It's funny, every time I get over that 7 hours, I tend to creep down a little bit, so that was good. 120 ounces of water, 45 minutes of activity. But I did miss my protein yesterday. And it was one of those things where I was already at 1,950 calories. I had 20 grams of protein left. I didn't want to waste a protein shake because that would have put me way over 200 and calories that I probably didn't really worry about because I'm already on the low end. So whatever, I missed my protein. Don't do it very often. And I'm not going to make a habit of it. Anyway, let's jump into this. So, does standing at your desk burn more calories than sitting? Yes, absolutely. It does. But there's no such, if you notice, there's not a weight loss program that tells you to stand all day. You already have that if you're a retail worker or, a salesperson who gets in and out of the car and walks around and things. But like just standing compared to sitting, it's actually a little bit better to stand. And men versus women is actually, men burn twice as much. But let me tell you, in a couple of studies, I mean, the one main one that I'm referencing now, because a lot of the studies pointed to the same thing, these just had really specific numbers. Men on average burn 0.2 calories per hour more than sitting, and women 0.1 calories per hour when they stand compared to sit. And you may be like, oh, that's so negligible, I'm just going to sit. Not yet, not quite. So the researchers in the study said, although it isn't like an effective weight loss plan to stand when you're at your desk, it actually may work against weight gain. So it was right around 1,000 participants. The ones that actually stood longer didn't gain as much weight. And there's more. It actually may help lower blood sugar in this other study that had about 800 participants. But what they noticed is after 4 months, and only 4 months, the group that stood more than the people that sat, so they didn't stand the entire time. It was about an hour and a half more per day that these folks stood compared to the people that sat the whole time. On average, they lost about 1 pound just from standing 1.5 hours more, but it actually reduced, or they had lower blood sugar from baseline to the end of this study, and they actually had a little less fat, so like a pound. But let's extrapolate that over the course of time. If this was just 4 months. Now, granted, there'd have to be, we'd have to dig into more like really deep studies to find out, and then you'd probably have to test it for yourself to see if you were one of the ones, and it's, you actually want to do more activity. But what I've noticed when I've stood at my desk, because I have a desk that raises and lowers both at my home office and at corporate. It is, you find yourself, when you stand, you find yourself walking after that. Not so much at home, unless it's warmer. Then I do go outside and walk during some of my calls or breaks, but you find yourself being a little more active to where when you sit, to me, it's easier to lock in. You know, like today I was locked in for like 7 hours in a row. Like all of a sudden I looked up, started about a little 6:45 today. I looked up and it was 3 o'clock. I'm like, oh my goodness. And I had been on meetings and things, but you just don't notice as that time flies, and I had sat the whole time. So that actually spurred, like, man, I've always wondered, and I used to stand a lot more, and I just haven't been doing it as much lately. But maybe that 0.4 would have got me to 219. No, I'm just kidding. I don't, I mean, potentially, but not like in one day, over time. But I just thought this was really interesting that, you know what, you should probably stand a little more. If you sit at your desk, try to stand. And even if it's just treat it like your water, like your sleep, like your calories, like your activity, like anything we're doing here is like, you're not going to eat that elephant one bite. You're going to eat it one bite at a time, right? You're going to eat it small pieces, one bite at a time. So just be better than you were yesterday. So if you stand for 15 minutes and it, makes you a little bit tired, sit back down. Maybe the next time you try it, the next day, maybe a few more minutes and more and more and more, until maybe you're standing half the time and sitting half the time. So I just thought it was really interesting. I'd always heard it, but I actually wanted to research it myself and then bring it to you guys and say, what do you think? I believe that I'm going to start standing more at my desk because I do have an adjustable one. And if you don't have an adjustable one, stand and take some breaks in between, even if it's standing in 20 minutes when you're on a call, or standing and maybe pacing back and forth as you're on that call. Just try to be upright more during the day as you guys work, okay? So that's all. Hopefully it helps. I'm going to continue to work on my goals. I'm going to continue to bring you content like this, but if you want any additional content or things that you're really curious about, let me know. I'll do the research and, come back with what I think. And disclaimer, I'm not any kind of awesome doctor or, professional in whatever else, kind of exercise science or things. I do have a lot of friends, and I have been in this for a long time, but I'm just going to put a disclaimer out there that this is the opinion of me, and I'm trying to help you accomplish different things and bring you more content for your information to use to help you achieve your goals, whether they're similar to this or just making yourself better on a day-to-day basis. So thank you so much for all your support. As always, I appreciate it. I would love if you guys did leave some comments below about this, because I'm kind of curious. It was kind of one that just came to the top of my head. But I'll answer that in the comments, or I will just bring you another video with some of the answers and maybe even a little more deeper exploration. So have a good rest of your day. And as always, I look forward to talking to you guys tomorrow.